Hey everyone, I'm Kurt Richardson.
And I'm Peyton Burkhammer, and welcome to Lowdown.
Your source for art, music, and entertainment in the Akron area and beyond.
On this episode, we got bands, and more bands.
That's right, we're going to check out a lot of talented local musicians.
All that and more is coming up on this episode of Lowdown.
Hello, my name is Kurt.
And I'm Peyton.
And welcome to Lowdown.
So, Kurt, are you much of a singer?
Actually, yeah, I've done a couple local performances at different couple spots.
Really?
Absolutely not. Well, Kiera got the chance to interview Rachel Roberts, a real singer-songwriter who did an acoustic show in Akron recently.
Oh, awesome. Let's check it out.
I'm Rachel Roberts, and I'm a singer-songwriter. I've always been interested in music because my parents are opera singers. I thought opera was super boring until a lot later in life when I realized how beautiful it was. When I was 14, I had a major surgery. And when I woke up, I knew that I needed a guitar and I wanted to write music, and giving to other people was something that I felt was necessary. Right now, I have 3 projects. One is just me, which is Uncorked Wine Bar Monday nights. It's kind of folky, bluesy, a little bit of jazz in there, a lot of laughter and fun. The second one is called Babies in Black, and it's a 50s, 60s duo, so we do Everly Brothers, a lot of the Beatles. And then the third group I have is called the Queen Cobra, and we are definitely grunge rock. I am studying English. I used to study music, but I had a hard time with all of the opera music, mostly because I wanted to do folk music and I wanted to do jazz and blues and rock and roll. So then I decided I needed to focus more on lyrics and poetry. So I decided I wanted to study English, and then I quit that in order to make 5 albums, which I did. And now I'm back to finish up what I started. My favorite album that I made is called Lightning Loves the Kite. It's very inventive, I suppose, because there's a whole story that goes with it. There's the cloud, the thunder cloud, and a bird that sees the kite, and it's just a very different concept album that I started. What makes me different from other composers is probably my voice. My voice has a lot of lilt to it. I do a lot of different things with it that other people wouldn't necessarily do. It's just something that I like to play around with a little bit more. I like doing improv. My inspiration for writing comes from many places. A lot of time it has to do with experience, things I've experienced, but many times it has to do with stories I've heard of other people. A lot of times I'll be reading some poetry or a book or something that really just makes me feel like I need to tell another story about this out loud. And then also mundane things. I think I could probably write a song about stepping in some puddles or, walking in the rain and that kind of things.
So our next segment is a band that you interviewed, Kurt.
Yeah, probably one of the top 10 best indie band names I've ever heard.
Really? What is it?
The Future Boy Guitars.
That is a surprisingly good band name.
I know, right? They definitely make naming a band look easy.
Well, do they make creating music look just as easy?
Looks like we're gonna have to find out. Let's take a look.
Well, Seth and I have been in a band with each other called Valley Girls for about 6 years now. We're a 2-piece. And then I played in a band with Reed in high school.
Yeah, we were briefly entangled, and then we have another
band,
and other various collaborations.
Well, it used to be a solo project before it got into whatever this is, where there's more people involved. But I didn't know how to make a solo project or be me really in a musical thing. So it's like I had to make a character or something, so Boy Future Guitars is kind of this character. This is where we played the most, I think. We played here at least 3 times in the various incarnations of the band. It's still a little baby band, so we're still making our rounds. How the full band kind of started was like both wanting to just like be with other people finally and play some of the music with other people and just seeing what that's like. And it was just sort of like me starting to write this album to this like grander, maybe bigger scale. I usually like work them out in like demos and things like that, and then I bring them to them, and it's like they just instantly know what to do with them. Like at least from where we all come from, it seems like our first instinct is to get like weird and noisy and experimental or something. So like sort of the challenge and like what we've all like wanted to try is like just make a song that like has a chorus and a verse and something that like is catchy and nice kind of, but also still like obviously don't want to just do that because like there's so many guitar bands and like why like making it worthwhile is like the real challenge. It's like I don't know, trying to find something like unhinged in there while still having like a really poppy chorus or something.
Wow, Kurt, you know I love some good indie music. I'll have to check those guys out.
Yeah, they're definitely worth a listen, but after this break. And we're back, everyone.
But not for long, because up next we've got Jack coming in with today's latest music on the rundown.
Take it away, Jack.
Hello everyone, I'm Jack Stern, and welcome to The Rundown. It's time to discuss some of the newest music to break out on the scene. Let's get right into it. Unknown Mortal Orchestra has been one of my favorite groups that has been helping push indie rock in a more synth-pop driven direction this decade. The group's latest album, Multi-Love, features a flurry of electronic and funky rhythms. And now this new album continues to build on the different signature elements of the group's sound. The single, American Guilt, takes things in a different direction as it features a melody largely driven by a very raw and heavyset guitar. This stands in contrast to some of the more glossy and smooth synth parts on Multi-Love. Ruben Nielsen's hazy vocals are still very much present on this track though, as they mix well with this grungier shade of the band's sound. This track is a solid progression for the band, and I'm really looking forward to this new album release. MGMT has never really tried to replicate the success of their radio single Heavy or Peculiar Spectacular. They've played around with different shades of psychedelic rock, which have all veered away from what the mainstream is expected of them. Now they're doubling down on a synth-pop driven psychedelic sound with their latest album, Little Dark Age. Now with a lot of MGMT's previous work, I felt they tended to wear many of their influences on their sleeves. It didn't always forge new ground with their sound. So when you say the words synth-pop driven indie rock in 2018, which is becoming just so common, I get kind of skeptical. However, MGMT really pulled out all the stops with this new album. All of the singles leading up to the release were back-to-back hits. From the dreamy When You Die, with its coasting melodies and celestial instrumental, to the anthemic Me and Michael. Then there's more great material on the album itself, such as the satirical She Works Out Too Much, which lampoons dating app culture as the protagonist of the song competes with a girl over who has better gym pics on their profile. Then there's also the acronym-titled track Time Spent Looking at My Phone, where the band takes a microscope to society's addiction to staring at their screens. All this great content is then bookended by a series of catchy melodies and roaring choruses. This album is definitely the strongest release from MGMT as of yet. What more is there to even say about Justin Timberlake? He's had the media spotlight on his beck and call for the better part of a decade now. However, I think his new album, Man of the Woods, is a serious misstep. Some tracks, like the main single Filthy, are only saved thanks to Timberlake's continued collaboration with Titan-status producers Pharrell Williams and Timbaland. So many of these tracks lack the catchiness and silky smooth performances that have made him an almost household name up until this point. There's also an almost cringeworthy amount of time dedicated to just discussing Timberlake's love life, a subject which he handles with almost zero finesse as a now much older man. There's also a lot of material on this record that tries to be a mile wide and a mile deep at the exact same time. His work on this album really makes me question the resolve behind his entire career, and it's surely some of Timberlake's worst material. JPEG Mafia has been steadily floating under the radar in the noise rap scene of Bandcamp for quite some time now. His music has remained scattershot as he's played around with different ideas and noisy instrumentals between his edgy and heavy persona. Veteran is his latest, most well-rounded album, I think, and it's also his most noteworthy by a large margin. Tracks like Thug Tears feature warbling synthesizers as JPEG floats between different tones and flows with his voice. Even more interesting is the refinement of some of JPEG's lyrics. Shock value is still the name of the game here, but the sheer range of subjects he discusses is almost dizzying. You've got tracks about his apathy about dying video game forums to his disdain for both sides of the political aisleway. JPEG really impressed me here by just bringing a real sense of variety, not only to the strange subgenre of noise rap, but also to hip-hop in general in 2018.
It's ironic you press for a cooking. It's ironic you talk jail time, but you ain't never seen no central.
Well, that's about all I have time for today, everyone. Be sure to tune in next time for more amazing music.
As always, well said, Jack.
Jack sure knows his adjectives.
Seriously, but to keep the ball rolling, we've got even more music coming your way with a band you covered, right?
That's right. Originality is a rock band from Nashville that performed at a DIY show here in Akron.
What is up with all these cool band names this episode?
Honestly.
Well, let's check them out.
I'm Emma Hofflinger.
I'm Ryan Quarles.
I'm Courtcraft.
And we are Originali. How would we introduce our sound and our music? Always the most difficult question, I would say, out of it all. I guess the best way I've heard it was how Huffington Post said it was sludge pop desert rock.
Or a dream pop sludge rock, or something like that.
Yeah.
That's
so somewhere in there.
That's the specific genre we were deemed.
It's very specific. There's only one of, we're like number one in the genre as well, because there's nobody else in the genre.
Yeah. But it's like a mix of like kind of dry deserty rock and then a little bit of like ethereal atmospheric pop kind of mixed together. So
It could start with like a riff I was messing with, or some melody like I thought was really, really cool and I was kind of inspired by, or just, you know, in the middle of the night I'll be like, whoa, that was some random idea will pop in my head and like that'll influence the song. Or I'll be working on something, like the other day we were in practice and this one part that I had written to a song just like wasn't working. We were all like, well, let's come back to it. And I went home and I just changed everything up time signature wise, and suddenly like the riff made sense and I was able to like finish like that skeleton of the song. And then that's when we come back in.
The band is very focused around her writing a song and then just bringing it in to practice. And then us kind of like, it's like making a sculpture. You have this giant block which she makes and then we kind of chip it away to like create something new, something completely new.
last song we wrote, she had like two different parts. And she was like, this part is cool, and then this part is cool. And then I had like a few different vocal melodies. And then we've been like, all right, well, here's some transitions. Here's some extra stuff we'll throw in on top. Here's how we can like kind of differ up the rhythm a little bit, kind of add like some syncopation or maybe, up the tempo in one part, chop it in half in another part, that kind of thing.
Releasing it was, I think it was a really good encompassing sound of like what we're trying to achieve sound wise, as like a final body of some sort of work.
Yeah.
Not our final body of work by any means, but for everything that we were working on.
It's very descriptive of Oganali.
Yeah.
Specifically, the concept of The Gray as an EP is meant to be about the times in your life in which you're basically being torn between like your head and your heart, and like what that in-between feeling is, which Emma originally founded as the idea of The Gray, which is what we ended up making as the album name, and the album cover is supposed to reflect that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and I guess goals-wise too, sometimes, well, especially in the creative process, you may like know you want to like you're definitely running forward, but you sometimes don't really know where that's going to take you. It's kind of a lame way to say that, but I guess we found what we were looking for as far as the sounds that happened in the studio. Like, we knew the songs that we had were good and we knew they were solid, but there's something about going into the studio that just helps you kind of give yourself a bird's eye view of your songs, and gives you just a way of like hearing different ways or different tones you can get out of a guitar, or like different parts that you could add here and there that just give you, those are your stylistic vibes. Like, that's how you get a unique sound, in my opinion, would be from going in the studio. That helps you just polish everything, and then that's why live shows are awesome, because it gives you a different take from everything. But that was definitely finding our sound, and I guess the culmination of what the Gray sounds like. Just super stoked to be back in Akron. Go check out the Gray. Like us on all the things, because that's important to the world,
all the things.
Sadly. But yeah, that's important. Yeah, just keep listening, and thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Whoa, I didn't know they were going to be that cool.
Yeah, it was pretty surreal being there. It really felt like a big deal.
Well, we've got a couple more pretty big deals coming up after this break. And we're back. So Peyton, did you know the university was doing a lot of different events for rethinking race?
I did. I've been seeing events for that all over campus.
Actually, Jeremiah was able to interview the director of The Chosen People, which was one of the films screened this month.
A real filmmaker? That's amazing.
Well, you better get the popcorn because we're about to take a look.
I'm Anthony Cornijo. I am Vice President of the 2380 Film Club. 2380 is a film club on university campus, and we just mainly discuss cinema and also make films ourselves. The film's called The Chosen People, a film about Jewish identity. It's made by a local filmmaker, Josh Gibbon, and it's basically just kind of dissecting what it means to be Jewish in today's society. And I think Jewish representation is pretty low, especially on campus. I feel like it's something that's not as, I guess, prevalent on campus. So it's just giving students kind of a new lens on Judaism and Jewish people as a whole.
My name is Josh Gippen, or Joshua Gippen if you want to be more formal. Sometimes I go by filmmaker, sometimes I go by producer director, you know. I am from Akron originally. I've moved all around. I went to University of Michigan for college, then I went to State University of New York at Albany for grad school, and lived south of the border for a while, lived in Mexico, lived in South America, and moved back home to, you know, marry my wife and a lot of extended family here in the area. So, okay, so this documentary is called The Chosen People, ? And it's a film about Jewish identity. And so this is something that has long troubled me. I'm Jewish, and I've always felt that the whole idea that we are God's chosen people, that somehow we're part of this select group to the exclusion of all other groups, it just goes against my core belief in equality, in human equality, that we're all equal under God, you know? Whatever you know God to mean. It's a tough one because it's at the center of Judaism, it's at the center of Jewish identity, and at the same time, it has been a cause of so much anguish and so much conflict with Christianity, with Islam, over 2,000 years. I tried to move beyond my own biases and just give sort of the history and the facts. So I just tried to do it chronologically for the most part. I started with the biblical roots, which go back about 3,000 years, and then it moves into the birth of Christianity and Christian viewpoints on chosenness and that whole rivalry between Christianity and Judaism. And then it moves into the Enlightenment, which was kind of brings in the conflict between science and religion, and fundamentalism versus skepticism. And then it gets into the 20th century, the Holocaust, the birth of Israel. I mean, Israel is a whole topic in and of itself, but there's a connection between the chosen people and the promised land, and how it relates to Jewish relations with Arabs and with Muslims. So those two relationships are important, between Christians and between Arabs and Muslims. And ends in the 21st century where we are today. So the kind of work I do it's not something you go out on a Saturday night to the movie theater and watch my movies. It's something that if you're from a very specific industry or a very specific, part of government where you can make change, then you're my target. I discovered a small branch of Judaism, a very small, very marginal branch of Judaism called Reconstructionist Judaism, which believes that we should reconstruct and sort of amend Judaism. And so I'm trying to reach out to the largest branch of Judaism, the Reform movement, which also nominally is trying to reform or make change, and try to get them to adopt the stance that we've adopted, which is to just reject altogether the idea that we are anything but equals to everyone else. That's the change I'm trying to make there. We'll see. We'll see if it happens.
Wow, that was pretty cool.
Honestly, we don't usually get to interview directors.
Well, things are about to get even more unusual with our next package.
How so?
Well, Tyrese went down to Canton for their very own XXL freshman class debuts.
Wait, they do XXL ciphers for local talent?
Yeah, I had no idea either. Let's check it out.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Quan. I'm a Canton local artist. I've been rapping since I was 14. My first appearance, really on stage, because I used to do a lot of church shows, but my first appearance on stage was at Crenshaw's talent show. That's where I basically set it to my mind, okay, when I go to high school, when I get out, rapping is my thing, but I'm gonna do it in a different way. You know what I mean? I'm gonna rap positive. I'm not gonna rap about, the drugs, streets, women, I don't, no disrespect to anybody who does, but that was just, growing up, that was just never me, so I just stick to what I said I was gonna do, and I just did it. When I didn't make that list, I was kind of hurt, but it was that was a motivation to keep me forward. So what I'm planning on doing now is, music videos after music videos. I have a show coming up in Akron for Akron Apollo. It's very big. I'm working on an EP called Unleashed. It's coming soon. Make sure y'all go get it. But the message I want to deliver is that, around all the negativity that you got going on in your community or in your life, there's always positive, vibes. There's always a positive input anybody can put, in your mind to, want to do better, to no matter the circumstances, that you can do better in life. The song that I'm featured on in this video is called Let Me Be. It's by my friend Devon, but his rap name is Finley. It's basically about, just everyday struggle and how I got featured on it. He just had called me one day and said he had a song for me, and he sent me the beat and everything, and it was just how can I word this? What type of video can we do? You know what I'm saying? So when he had called me for the song or whatever, it was just I'm down. It was a nice beat and it just flowed the way I wanted it to, so I just said, why not? I just feel some artists should, what I was saying about being true to yourself, I just feel some artists should just, not try to ride the wave, because the way Canton is set up, everybody wants to ride the same wave. Everybody wants to go, left instead of some people going right. So I just feel Canton overall, we have good artists. It's just hard to find them, and it's hard to find an artist who's really dedicated. What advice I would give somebody, just be you in your music. Don't try to copy nobody else. Don't try to, ride a wave. Ride your own wave. Go on your own path. With that being said, don't let the fame or anything get the best of you. Always be true to yourself and be true to your fans.
Man, I'm impressed. This episode has been filled with some amazingly talented people.
I know, but sadly it has to come to an end.
You're right, that's all the time we have for today, but stay tuned for more episodes. So don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at ZTV Lowdown. I'm Curtis Richardson.
And I'm Peyton Burkhammer, and this has been The Lowdown. See you next time.
This program was produced by ZTV at the University of Akron. To find out how you can make Emmy-winning media, visit the UA School of Communication online. ZTV. Make media. Make a difference.